I'm not sure I would agree that Clojure is hated by JavaScript developers, but I think JavaScript developers, like most developers, are averse to things they don't understand. And it's one of those areas that you encounter in basically every JavaScript program. Not a lot of people stop to think about that particular detail. It kind of stays under the covers. And it only exposes itself when there's some bug where it's not doing what you wanted. And so your only encounter with it, if you haven't stopped to learn what Clojure is, your only encounter might be some very hard to figure out bug and you're like, oh crap, I didn't realize it was, remembering that variable or something. So I think that might be one of the reasons why, is because just as I've said many times, that I think what we struggle with as a community is that we tend to reward only learning the surface, shallow level of what JavaScript can do, not really digging into those deeper understandings. And that works in what I call sort of happy path development. As long as you're on the happy path, it's great, no problems. But when things don't work the way we want, which for me is a lot, when they don't work the way that we want, you kind of have to dig deeper. And when you don't have the skills or the understanding of the language to do that, can be a lot more challenging. So I can sympathize with why people struggle with things that are hard to learn. I actually think once taught properly, the this keyword is probably easiest. So I'd start with the this keyword as being number one on the list. In other words, lowest complexity. So I'll go from low to high in complexity. I would say the next easiest would be the event loop. And that's a pretty straightforward concept. Again, you do have to be taught well how that works, but I think the event loop makes pretty good sense. That's not how it's always implemented by the engines, but the idea of an event loop would probably be next. I'd say scope is the next. There's a lot of glossing over that. A lot of people just never learn really scope, and then they only use something like hoisting as their definition. And so I think if you dig below hoisting and understand the compiler phase and how the scope manager works and that sort of thing, like I've covered in my books, then I think you can ferret out scope. And of course, you have to understand scope before you can get to something like Clojure. So the next most would be Clojure. I'd say after that, promises, and then async await. Asynchrony is going to be at the end of the list because it encompasses all these, but I'd say promises and then async await. And then finally asynchrony. Asynchrony is it's one of the hardest things to learn because time is the most complex state in any program. But those are good primitives that we can build upon, so that's good news.